Zatoichi. Zatoichi. Zatoichi.
The Tale of Zatoichi is the first entry in the longest and most famous samurai series ever. It's in fact the longest running action series in Japanese history. It's basically the MCU of that time period. It created one of cinema's most iconic heroes, a blind masseur, who also happens to be a lightning-fast swordsman. He also lives by a code of honor, and he delivers justice in every town and village he enters. It's an interesting character type, and I believe it's one of the first handicapped protagonists that we see in film. All films in the series are set during Japan's Edo period, and there's a total of 26 films that were made from 1962 to 1989. From 1974 to 1979, a television series was produced starring Shintaro Katsu and some of the same actors that appeared in the films. These were all produced by Katsu Productions. The 17th film of the original series was remade in the US in 1990 as Blind Fury, starring Rutger Hauer.
What's your problem, Jackoff? You blind?
Yeah, what's your excuse?
There's also a 2003 film just titled Zatoichi, which was directed by Takeshi Kitano, and he also starred in the film. There's also a play version of Zatoichi, and it was directed by Takashi Miike. It was performed and filmed in 2007 and released on home video. I can only imagine the insanity of a Zatoichi play directed by Miike. That's gotta be awesome. So, this is quite the franchise, and I've always heard of the series, but never really got around to getting into them. So recently, I came across this massive Criterion box set with 25 films. So I just took this opportunity to finally get into the series. I always liked the concept of someone's disability strengthening their other senses. It's kind of like the crippled Avengers or even Daredevil. This first film in the Zatoichi series is directed by the excellent Kenji Masumi. And Kenji Masumi is also famous for the Lone Wolf and Cub series, and that's definitely one that I'm going to be talking about. In this first film, the basic plot is Zatoichi is a broke ex-masseur who targets a Yakuza-controlled village. A war is then started with neighboring towns as smaller gangs, and Ichi exposes a bunch of Yakuza who then want to come after him. And he basically plays them against each other. It's very similar to Kurosawa's Yojimbo. And I can see why the two main antagonists eventually meet up in one of the later films. It's honestly hard to say if I like Zatoichi or Sanjuro more. But if I had to choose one, I'd probably go with Sanjuro, just because we see him struggle as a character more. I will say though that the blind swordsman is a cooler concept. The actor Shintaro Katsu does an excellent job at playing this main character. He apparently plays the main character in most of these films, so I'm excited about that because he's a lot of fun to watch. He's funny yet very convincing, and he owns every scene he's in. He'll do clever things like just tell a bunch of Yakuza that they stink, then beat them in gambling, and just walk out laughing. He also comes across as kinda goofy and incapable, so his enemies never really take him serious until it's too late. Because he's blind, his senses of smell and hearing are incredible. He can tell if someone is standing right behind him, or even if they have an illness. There's this really cool scene where he's walking in the forest at night and two Yakuza confront him, so he turns off his lantern to make them as blind as him and then just quickly takes them out. This is a well-made film, but it's not Kurosawa or Kobayashi good. There's standout moments, but it does drag and become a little hard to follow in the second act. Some of the choreography is also not as well made as other films during this time period, but still, I'll say it's worth watching if you're into old school samurai films, and it's pretty interesting seeing where this massive franchise began. There's really something profound and fascinating about watching someone who's blind be an expert swordsman. Perhaps this is saying something about how we're often held back by our perception of sight instead of our faith in our abilities. Well, anyway, it's a really cool concept, and I can see why this became so famous, and I can't wait to see more. Thanks for watching, guys, and join my Discord where me and a group of other like-minded individuals discuss a whole bunch of topics that we like. Thank you.
Zatoichi!